want to do? Let's do Trouble in Paradise. So word on the street is that there is a rift between Kyle and her alleged, girlfriend, BFF, whatever you want to call it, who the hell knows. You guys know I never bought the whole Kyle and Morgan Wade actually being in a sexual romantic relationship. I've always felt it was PR, mainly PR for Morgan. I feel like Kyle Richards really was going through it. She really did hear Morgan's music and did reach out because Kyle is kind of stalkery, creepy that way. I think all of that is true. But then I think when Morgan Wade and her friends and her, more importantly, her team, like her PR people, her agent, realized who Kyle Richards was, Bravo TV, NBC, the Housewives, the Hiltons, Paris, all of that, I think they saw it as an opportunity to make money, clicks and views, brand awareness, merchandise, touring, ticket sales, all of that. Morgan Wade being with Kyle really put her on the map. Sure, she was a singer and she was doing her thing, and I'm not knocking that by any means. You have a dream, go out and get it, boo boo. But what I'm saying is, there is no way to deny it is like a fact that Morgan Wade is, quote, the Morgan Wade that everybody knows now because of her proximity to Kyle Richards. I'm not saying she never would have became a star, but the way in which she became a star, however you want to define star, is through Kyle Richards. There's no way in hell I would ever be talking about or know the name of Morgan Wade except for the fact that she was associated with Kyle Richards. And I think that's the majority, and I think that's true for the majority of people who know Morgan Wade. And that's not taking anything away from her. It's just how the game is played. You are a lesser, quote, star. One way to rise is to be attached to a bigger star. It's just how it is. All right, now let's dive into this. So apparently there is a rift between Morgan and Kyle. Don't forget that this is on the heels of the report that came out that producers are allegedly telling Kyle, we are going to fire you from the show if you do not bring Morgan on the show and be honest about whatever is going on with your relationship. Is it sexual? Is it romantic? Is it just friends? Whatever the hell it is, you need to be honest about it. Because again, I coined, this is the Robin Dixon fraud effect. The producers, the executives, casting, I personally think that they are tired of looking stupid. Because these housewives are out here living these two separate lives. They have all this juicy stuff going on social media, on the blogs. We're all talking about it. And then they're pretending to have one life on the screen. And I think the producers are tired of looking played, basically. Anyway. According to a fan submission, Morgan Wade, this is from Reality Blurb. According to a fan submission, Morgan Wade allegedly revealed that she and Kyle Richards haven't spoken in a long time, and she didn't know where she was. At the recent Real Housewives of Beverly Hills reunion, Kyle shared that she didn't know if she could see herself being with Morgan romantically, though fans have speculated to the contrary. Earlier this year, Morgan wiped all traces of Kyle on Instagram, leading viewers to believe they fell out. Kyle is currently separated from her husband, Mauricio Umansky, though she's uncertain about their future. Okay, let's break that one down real quick. Again, right after the reunion aired, i.e. their PR contract was over, Morgan wipes her entire Instagram of almost everything and also including all of Kyle. Of course, their PR statement is, she's just promoting her music. A lot of artists do that. Blah, blah, blah. Get out of here. I personally think the PR contract was over. I think Kyle was regretting how far she went with her separation with Mauricio. I still think she's mad at him. I still think they have issues to work out. But I think at that point, Kyle wanted Mauricio back. And I think the PR relationship was over. But because of the fan speculation, because of potential backlash of them splitting at that particular time, everyone's like, oh, is this a PR contract? Was it fake? And I'm like, yeah, you guys, we've been talking about this the entire time. But I think they did. I think that their PR people and their team didn't want the backlash. That's when we got photos of them together all of a sudden. But Kyle already let it out of the bag when she was on Jeff Lewis, basically being like, Morgan is just one of my friends and she's just one person I text in the morning. Like, it's really not that deep or that serious. It's basically what Kyle said about Morgan. Like, she's just a chick I know, pretty much, changing her tune on Jeff Lewis. This is all after the season's wrapped. This is all after all the episodes have aired and the reunion has wrapped. Very, very suspicious timing, right? Then we get them kind of hanging out again a little bit here and there. Again, I think those are just paparazzi shots that they call on themselves because they didn't want any negative backlash of the timing of the ending of their quote friendship or relationship or whatever you want to call it, because everyone was like, oh, she was only doing it for a storyline, she was lying, all of that. I actually don't think Kyle was doing everything with Morgan for a storyline. I think Kyle really, like, in her actual real mind and life, was truly going through a crisis. I think when her friend took her own life, I think the state of her marriage, I think maybe midlife crisis, maybe a later midlife crisis was kicking in. I think that Kyle truly, in her own life, was truly going through it mentally and emotionally and physically and everything else. Cause, with her eating and the, working out and losing the weight and then not drinking, I think Kyle really was going through it. So I don't think that she was using Morgan for a storyline, but I don't think that her relationship with Morgan was actually sexual. But I think she played it up and played into it for clout and for clicks and for attention, which of course would then feed into a storyline, if that makes sense. This is kind of where I land on that. Okay. A fan recently claimed to have approached Morgan in public and asked her about Kyle. Morgan Wade was on the streets of Bloomington, Illinois, said the fan in a submission to Dumois. And she said, I had zero chill and asked her where Kyle was. She said she hadn't talked in a long time and she didn't know where she was. The fan went on and saying, she's so tiny. Meanwhile, Kyle shared a photo of herself at what appeared to be a concert with her estranged husband Mauricio and their daughters. In the photo, the family had their arms locked around each other. So they're all at a concert. Maybe this is either Coachella or Stagecoach or something like that. It's very, very cute. In another pic on her Instagram stories, Kyle took a selfie with two of her daughters and Melissa Platt, an employee at Mauricio's real estate firm, co-star on his show Buying Beverly Hills. I really like Melissa. If you guys watch the show, I really like her. So basically, Morgan is like, I haven't seen Kyle in a long time. I don't know where she is. Kyle is now posting pics of her and Mauricio and the kids doing very family fun stuff, hanging out at Coachella or Stagecoach or country, whatever the hell it is, and having fun and hanging out, doing family stuff. Now, this is the thing. I do think that at this point in time, Kyle wants her marriage back. And I think the ball is in Mauricio's court because it was either on I think it was Buying Beverly Hills or in some interview, but Mauricio was talking about, whether or not he's going to move out of the house because they were still living together. And he was like, well, like if anyone would move, like I would move out and we would see if like if I like miss her and like want it back, and I'm now where she was a couple of months ago. This is what I think happened in their marriage. Disclaimer, I am not a therapist. I am not a relationship coach. I'm just a chick who watches reality TV. Okay? But this is what I think happened in their marriage. This is what I think happened. I think Kyle had a true breakdown crisis in her life. I think she had so many things in her life crumbling at the same time. The death of her friend, her husband being booked and busy, not prioritizing her, feeling like she's being taken for granted, which I think for Mauricio, that is business as usual. I think that has always been the dynamic of their relationship, where he takes precedent, his priorities, his business, what he wants to do. And Kyle has always been a very supportive, ride or die for her husband, right? So I think Mauricio was just booked and busy, business as usual. This is how we do things. We're doing it. where I think Kyle maybe turned a certain age. I think she's maybe like 54, 55 now. Midlife crisis time kind of kicks in. Her friend passes away suddenly and very tragically in a very traumatic way. She's beefing with her family, with Kathy. There's a rumor that her best friend Dorit is having sex with her husband Mauricio. That's a lot to handle with anybody. I like to clown Kyle, vile Kyle, and all that stuff, but she's still a human being. So I do think Kyle in her life was going through crisis. And I think that her husband profoundly failed her. I think he didn't really take it as seriously as it was. And I think that he just continued business as usual when she needed something different. She needed the dynamic to change. She needed him to be there for her, which is a dynamic I don't think they've ever really had. And so then that led her to rebelling against everything. Because that's what happens when you're in crisis. Before you get to your healing stage, you have that rebellion stage where you are angry, you are mad, you're pushing buttons, you're pushing boundaries, you're acting out. So that's why we get Kyle with the tattoos, with Morgan Wade, with losing weight, with not drinking, with, cutting off friends and all of this stuff and, doing the absolute most. She is rebelling. She is burning it down. She's breaking it all down, which oftentimes is needed. Sometimes you got to break it to rebuild it, right? So she's in that phase. But as you get through that phase, which you should, because the problem is you don't ever want to be stuck in a phase. You don't want to be stuck in rebellion. You don't want to be stuck in your anger. It's okay to move through it, but you don't want to be stuck in it. So I think the more that Kyle moves through it, the healthier she gets, the more settled she gets, the more she heals. She kind of probably realizes, well, wait a minute, I didn't really want to burn the whole house down. And I want my marriage and my husband back. But then you have Mauricio over here, who now is like confused and is now himself resentful and pissed off and probably going through his own crisis. His whole company is moving so fast. He has a new reality TV show, all of these cheating allegations. Now he's having Dancing with the Stars opportunities he's never had before. And then Kyle hasn't been there for him the way that he's always assumed she would be, because she always has been. And that is a bit of taking her for granted, right? So now he's like, well, wait a minute, you burned down the house. I don't know if I want to rebuild this house with you. And so that's where I think it comes in, where he's like, well, I would be the one to move out and I would be the one to decide if I miss her and, get this back together. And to be honest with you, it's pretty freaking textbook what's going on between these two. I personally want to know, just because I'm nosy and they're on a reality TV about their marriage and their lives, what was Kyle talking about when she said he did something and all the trust was gone? Because you could tell whatever it is, she had such disgust and disdain for him. I'm like, I want to know what it was. I know what I think it is. I've said it in other videos, but I want to know what it really is, because she had so much vitriol and she was like, it's nobody's effing business. Excuse me, miss, it actually is. Aren't you on a reunion stage for the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills? Isn't that literally what your job is? So actually it is my business. Just it is actually my business. But I want to know what it was. Like, I want to know what that breaking point was. But that's where I think it is for them. I think that Kyle wants to rebuild, but I think he's now at the point where he's like, well, maybe we really should just break up and separate. I don't know why. I've always said this. I think they won't ever divorce. I think they will ultimately get back together. It might take more time than I thought, but I think ultimately they will end up together. That's just what I think. I could be wrong. I don't really know these people. But put it down below. As always, let me know what you guys think about this. What do you think about right after the report comes out that the producers are like, Kyle, you're getting fired if you don't talk about Morgan Wade? All of a sudden, Morgan Wade is telling people, I haven't talked to Kyle in a long time. I don't even know where she is. And Kyle is posting family pics with her and Mauricio. I see them getting back together, but I think it'll play out more so. My prediction is season 3 or 4, of buying Beverly Hills, I think we will have the reconciliation arc of Mauricio and Kyle. I don't think we'll get the reconciliation arc this season of Real Housewives. I think season 3 or 4 of Buying Beverly Hills, that's where I actually think we'll get the reconciliation arc between these two. That's just what I think. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But as always, I want to know what you guys think. Put it down below. And as always, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. So speaking of things breaking up to make up, apparently Vanderpump Rules